Looks like we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream from Boys Town Parenting. My name is Gabby. I'm your host, and we are joined here today with Bridget Barnes, who is our Boys Town Common Sense Parenting expert. And summer is officially here. If you're in the Midwest, it is warm, it is nice, and so sometimes, when the heat can heat up in the summertime, so can some of the tension at home. And so we are talking about when that happens, how you can find your calm during some of those, heated or more tense situations. As we go through our discussion today with Bridget, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below, and make sure to keep your eye out there for additional resources as well as a sign-up link for our Boys Town Common Sense Parenting classes, which we run year-round. So we have them in the summer, and they're especially busy in the fall. So make sure you sign up, and there are lots of classes offered. You can go ahead and just enter your zip code and find the information there. How are you doing today, Bridget?
I'm great, Gabby. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Yeah, doing well.
Yeah.
So for some of our friends here who are maybe first-time viewers or are finding this video, tell us more about yourself and your role at Boys Town.
Well, I am the director of Boys Town's Common Sense Parenting Program in Nebraska, but there are Common Sense Parenting sites all across the country that parents can get a live class where they'll actually go to a building, or they can go to online classes, as you mentioned before, that they can go to parenting.org and sign up for. Our classes are usually in the evening, and we serve hundreds of parents and children every year. So you won't be alone, and it is a safe place and lots of space for parents to share their stories and learn new skills to enhance their parenting approach.
Awesome. So let's paint the scene, kind of like what I said in the intro. If you're a parent, you might be feeling overwhelmed with summer beginning, and the house might feel a little bit chaotic. And of course, when that's happening, of course, one more thing will go wrong, right? So in that moment, Bridget, what is the first thing that a parent can do and think about to kind of collect themselves?
Well, when you're in that moment, you won't be thinking about anything. You're lost your cool, and that's really too late to be thinking, right? You have to think prior to that. So while the kid is rumbling, I'm thinking, what do I need to do to calm myself down? Because once they're in a rage, and if you fall into the trap of being in a rage with them, it's really too late. So you really want to kind of be before the ball, so to speak, and make sure that you are implementing strategies while you're kind of seeing, oh, this is not going to be good. He's beginning to rumble. He's beginning to talk back. He's beginning to do these things. So early warning signals that tell you this child is beginning to push my button. So to avoid falling into a trap of yelling and screaming, I'm going to use a calm down strategy. Matter of fact, we were talking earlier before we came live about a class I went to last night. It was called Teaching Self-Control. So if you go to classes, you can focus on this topic for a whole hour and a half or 2 hours. But one of the moms in the class, Gabby, shared that she was working with a therapist with her child, and the therapist had told her to use a technique called purposeful silence. So for our viewers who don't know what purposeful silence is, it's just when a parent deliberately chooses to remain silent, often with a very specific intention of giving the child space to, kind of reflect on their behavior and make a better decision. And the parent is you just conveying through silence the message of nothingness, like nothing you're going to do right now is going to make me respond in a negative way until the child's kind of meltdown is over. Now, it's hard to sustain that. And the mom actually said to me, Gabby, she was like, I couldn't pull it off. But, the child began to push my buttons, and before I knew it, I was yelling and screaming. So how do I help myself to be calm? Because I can't help him. And I was like, exactly. And so this topic is very timely. So a couple of things I would suggest. One, decide on what strategy works best for you in order to maintain that nothingness or that purposeful silence. And note that one size does not fit all. So what might work for your husband or your grandma or your sister might not work for you. It's different. So you have to be willing to try a couple of different things and figure out what works and not give up. To develop calming strategies over time. It doesn't happen overnight. I wish it was. I wish there was a little magic wand that I could like ding and there you go. But no, there isn't. It's kind of a superpower that is built up over time, right? So parents should really take time each day, breathing in, breathing out, using self-talk, having a plan. Like if this happens when I take the kids to the store, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to not do. Have a plan, make a plan. Will you always use it? Might be not, but it's better to have, an escape plan, a drill that you're going to go through than not to have it at all. So it just takes a few minutes to make a plan. I also think you should just build up support. And what I mean by that is when you're in a intense situation, sometimes it's hard for you to think. It's hard for you to make the right decision. So even Superman had his Lois Lane and he had a fortress of solitude he could go to. So parents sometimes need that same person they can reach out to, whether it's your husband or your friend, the Boys Town hotline, whoever it might be. You'll want to make sure that you reach out. You have some kind of a person that you can rely on when things get hard. So, I'm always saying to my staff and to parents that I was doing a presentation at a company about a month ago. And I said, Bruce Lee once told us that he called a superpower. He called, being able to become a superpower. And under a Zen tradition, you want to be like the ocean when it comes to being calm, not like a puddle. When you step in a puddle, it's disturbed by the slightest thing. But an ocean, when you have the ability to remain calm, to master yourself, then you're like the ocean. So how do you get to that place? It doesn't not going to happen overnight. And, tag teaming, I just believe that I can only take this button pushing behavior for so long.
Right.
Right. And so note to everybody out there, you can't sustain it forever, purposeful silence means you have to be quiet and silent until that behavior goes away. Well, who can do that? Well, if you take little breaks, right, by having someone who can tag you out. So my husband and I would tag each other out. I go clean the kitchen, change the baby's diaper, or come back. And then, on and on, this tagging in and out where my son was like, golly, these guys are continuing to do whatever they're doing, right? Tag yourself out. Be okay to give yourself a timeout. Take lots of breaks to, just respite, to reflect, to recover, right, from the situation. Give yourself a timeout, so to speak, and then focus objects. So sometimes I will take into a situation with a kid when I used to work in the homes, and even with my own children, something that makes me focus. I'm monitoring without focusing on that child, my eye contact, like whether it's a little puzzle in my hand. My husband would make grocery lists with his phone, and then he would try to find the best place to get the best sale. So you're there monitoring the child, though they're not harming themselves or others, but you're not focusing on that child. That really helps you to stay calm. And not take everything they're saying as, he said this to me or that. And try not to take it personally. When kids are in an emotional meltdown, they're saying all kinds of things. Half the things they don't even know what they're saying. Later on, they're very sorry and, about their behavior. But in the moment, they say and do a lot of things. So try not to take that personally. Do I make note that that child needs to work on that? If you were inconsiderate to me and threw things at me or destroyed my favorite such and so or called me all kind of names, are you going to do some considerate things for me later on? Probably, to learn about, consideration for others. So sorry won't be enough. We'll need to kind of go over that. And having that in the back of my mind helps me to be calm because I know I'm going to address these things, just not at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it was a lot. I'm sorry. I went on a rant right there, right?
we can break down so much of it too. So something that, you mentioned was, you can only take it for so long. So what can parents do when their kids are exhibiting kind of those triggering behaviors over and over and over again, where parents are like, oh my goodness, I am so frustrated. I'm trying to teach my child not to do XYZ. And so when they do it after we have already, made a plan to calm down and talked about it, and there has been, positive or negative consequences, but then a couple days later, the same behavior is happening again.
Well, a couple of things, one is that if the kid does this behavior again and again and again, they're telling us something, right? That they're not skilled enough. So they would be practicing in the morning, noon, and night how to calm themselves down or how to follow instruction. That's the trigger. If the trigger is when I give an instruction or if I give criticism, this kid pops off, then I'm going to have them practicing that. So they build up that skill set to be able to say, okay, and look at me and do what I ask them to do when I give them an instruction versus, expecting them over time to get better without any practice at this. They've obviously indicated they're not very good at it. So I would be very proactive in having that kid practice that and me practice with them what I expect. All right. So if it's being calm or whatever social skill, we have wonderful little cards we give out in our class, that kind of thing. I try to stop the behavior sooner than later. So as soon as I see a kid rumbling, I begin to respond to them versus just waiting until they get to the point of rage. So as soon as, every parent knows how it goes. You say to your kid, oh, you need to put your jacket on. Oh man, oh God, like, okay, here we go. So I see it there. I'll call them back. Why don't you take a deep breath right now? Well, take it with me. So, but if I wait till the child's in a rage, he's not breathing or doing anything I say, right? So stopping sooner, being more proactive. And then when you're in the moment, when you've done those things, but the child still goes there, and they will. Hello, they're kids. They're going to go there. Sometimes when we've done all the teaching, I just put up a sign, a little take 10 sign. I say, okay, we need to take 10. All right. And this also alerts if I have a buddy in the house that, my husband's in the study and I go in with my take 10, I need a break. I need you to come and give me a little break here so that I don't do something I don't want to do. So definitely be proactive, stop behavior when it begins to rumble, and definitely take breaks to give the child a chance to maybe make a better decision. They might do that. And to give yourself a chance not to make a poor decision.
Right. Definitely. So then once we, maybe take 10 after one of these tense moments, how do we come back together and make it a learning opportunity?
Yeah, I really do think you have to come back together. You have to follow up on the feelings. You have to follow up on, what caused this and how do we address this in the future? It's a better way to deal with that. I'm more than willing to listen to you. It's not what you're saying that's a problem, it's how you're saying it to me. That's the problem. So I think you have to have those talks and not just wash over them like, okay, we have to go to this next thing. There is nothing more important than your relationship with your kid. Nothing more important than that. Take the time to talk about it. Make the time. Carve it out. And everything else is secondary. And unplug, especially no phones. Just we're going to spend the next 10 minutes being real here about what happened and what we can do next time. What skills you need, what skills I need to avoid these situations. Because sometimes we are pushing their button. The mom last night said, another mom at the class last night said that she offered her child some ways to calm down. And he said, I'm going to pick this other way. And she said she wanted to get in an argument about the way he's, I gave you these options. Now you're just trying to have a power play here. And, and she said, but then I thought to myself after the class, what does it matter? I need to pick my battles. If he's going to calm down, great. I don't care how, as long as it's legal, moral, okay. Just, calm down. So sometimes parents are picking battles that don't need to be fought, that if the kid is going along with the program, do that and let them pick their own way to calm down, and don't be so rigid that you create more problems for yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I love what you said too, when coming back into that moment. I feel like that really helps in two ways, because one, it doesn't make the child feel like they are just being dismissed and that, whatever they're upset about is maybe not a big deal. And two, it goes along with the whole sweeping things under the rug thing, where, especially when we're talking in terms of behavior, if you have a child who's acting in a certain way or threw a tantrum about this, and then parents, you try to calm down and then you just want to move on to the next thing because there's a million things to move on to. The kid might think to themselves, well, like if I got away with it this time because we didn't really talk about it, we just moved on to sports or homework or whatever it may be, then maybe I'll try it again and see what happens. So I think that's important, because otherwise, when kids are thinking, oh gosh, mom and dad are not going to forget that I said this hurtful thing or I threw this, because I know we're going to sit down and talk about it. It just might not be right now.
Yeah. I agree. I think that if a child is really feeling something profoundly and we act like this is not important, let's move on to the next thing, that speaks volumes about our concern for them. We might say we're concerned, but we're not showing that and taking the time. And at the same time, I think you have to let go. Sometimes we hold on to something and then our kid later on just moves 2 centimeters to the left on doing something we don't like, and we drudge up all the other things that they have done. We have to have that time where we kind of talk about our feelings, talk about what we're going to do differently, and apply it. Yeah. So I think that having those talks, but then applying what we talked about. Sometimes we talk and then we just go on. And application is king. So let's make sure we follow through on what we talked about, and that consideration for others, and also parents, if they did or said inconsiderate things, apologize. It's okay. It's a great modeling tool to say, I said some things too that I regret and I am sorry. And I am going to work on not doing that. And in the future, if I do say something, you can put up the take 10, like, Mom, you need that, and it's okay. Maybe I need somebody to say, even if it's the child that's having difficulty, wow, you just stepped over the line with that statement. So, yeah.
Definitely. All right, we have just a couple more questions on our list here. So if you are watching live and have a question for Bridget, make sure you leave it in the comment section. Of course, we also have on Boys Town Parenting on our parenting.org website, you can go in and search by concern. So if you're watching this and thinking of a situation you may have had, you can go on our website and search, and we'll be able to help you that way. And of course, you can submit your own questions there too. So let's talk about stress management as parents. Like we talked about, there's there can always be other things at play, whether it's work, maybe managing multiple children with their schedules. Parents have all sorts of stressors. And so that can really play into our abilities to remain calm, and especially during tense moments. So as a parent yourself, Bridget, what advice do you have for parents managing stress?
It's easier said than done, lots of times, but you have to make it a part of your lifestyle. It has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You have to insert it into your life, and something that you do, like brushing your teeth every day. You're going to make that, whether it's just reading a chapter out of a book or a couple of pages, something that helps you to get to a kind of more zen, so to speak, calm place, or just taking a moment where you are just being mindful, doing nothing, relaxing, no technology. I'm not answering any questions. I used to, and I think I've told you this story before, when I would come home and the house would almost come toward me. Kids would come toward me with their little problems, and then this is burning and so-and-so's doing this and whatever. And I would begin to react and teach from the door. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I would get on my little mommy, hot shoes, and I would get on my comfy clothes, and everybody would have a time to decompress, including myself. So slow things down. Don't always it's not always an emergency. Is anyone on fire? No. Okay. Bleeding? No. All right, great. So I'm going to slow things down just a little bit, and you calm down over there, and we'll get to that, other situation, and just take some time and not feel like you have to do it all at once. So I'm okay with saying no to people. Some people are not. Some people feel like they have to say yes to everything their kids are involved with, or everything they think they need to be involved with. Be okay with no, that I don't feel comfortable, or that's not going to work for me right now. And picking the things that really matter to you and your family to do, and not overdo. So I find lots of families that are coming to our class are overdoing. I mean, they're doing so much. I'm like, when do you sleep? I don't know. So I would really, again, insert calm down strategies and time to be calm and mindful into your daily life, into your lifestyle, into your children's lives as well, that they learn to do those things, and be willing to kind of say no to things that are not your priority at this time in your life, and say yes to things that are healthy for you. And I think you'll find that you will de-stress just by doing some of those things. Now, I tell parents all the time, Gabby, sometimes your kids are in crisis.
Okay. Yeah.
Their out of control behavior is out of control. You can't, you used all the tools. You went to the class, you read the book, you did it all. And you're like, I'm drowning over here. So when you're in that crisis, like if your kid was bleeding, you would get an ambulance and take them to the hospital. You're not going to put a Band-Aid on that, right? So same thing, you need to get in with a therapist. You need to get in with some people that can guide you to some support systems that this child needs a little bit more help than you're able to give them. And that's why those things are there. Don't be afraid of that. We all need that at some point in time, some therapeutic intervention, or some Boys Town somewhere where someone can help you with in-home, or some of our other services. So I think that it's okay to reach out for help when you feel like I've done all I can do and I don't know which way to go. My kid needs more than what I have. Reach out. Okay.
Reach out. That's what we're here for. You know, we do these videos every month, but it is barely scratching the surface on all of the wonderful things that Boys Town does in terms of helping families. So Bridget mentioned just a few. We have, of course, our residential program on our home campus, which is probably what most notably what people think of when they think of Boys Town. But beyond that, we have our in-home family services. We have care coordination services that does exactly what Bridget just says. It helps you get the help you need when you say, you know, I need help, but I don't know the first step. I'm not sure where to go. So Boys Town will help you get connected with that. And then, of course, we talked earlier about the Boys Town National Hotline. So that's available for parents, teens, and young adults. So, and children, of course, too. But you can call them and ask for parenting support and kind of talk through some of the challenges. So we'll make sure to link our services in the comments below if you just want to bookmark it, save it, or go ahead and peruse it and reach out. And of course, you can always send us a DM if you're facing a challenge and you might not know what service you need. We can try and get you in touch with someone who can help. So
there's so much like you said, there is so much that Boys Town offers you. Your Life, Your Voice, I think is great for kiddos that need some support, or young teens. Our Boys Town Press has so many books in it for parents, teens, professionals, teachers, goes on and on. Definitely, like you said, the parenting.org. If you don't want to talk to someone, you can just download, you can listen to the experts, you can ask your questions. So there's so many classes, parenting presentations that you can go to get help and to talk to other parents like yourself. And so you won't feel alone. That's the other thing. So sometimes we feel isolated. And when we're isolated, we can feel more stressed out. So getting into a class where there's other parents that I'm not the only one experiencing this. Okay. And there's somebody I can talk to that's going to guide me and is on my side, who can support me with evidence-based training. Oh yeah, I want to be there, right? Because our kids are the most important people on the planet, and we want to enjoy them, right? And stress can get in the way of that joy that we want to have with them. So definitely look us up. We're here for all the parents, wherever they are.
Well said. Well said. Well, thank you, Bridget. This has been a really helpful topic because just as Bridget said, every family will face those tense situations. So we're here to help you navigate them and hopefully stay calm during them. So like I said, all resources will be linked below, and make sure you give us a follow to stay tuned to our lives every single month. We cover a different topic, and we'll see you next month. Thanks, Bridget.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.